So, hallo, herzlich willkommen zurück zu Let's Play Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. Und ich merke gerade, dass ich gleich niesen muss wahrscheinlich. Ah ne, geht. Okay, wunderbar. Kann losgehen. Wir sind hier nach wie vor im dritten Fall. Wir haben jetzt ein paar Sachen rausgekriegt. Zumindest wie hier von mir an der ganzen Sache beteiligt war. Aber ich schätze kaum, dass ihr die letzte Folge verpasst habt, wenn ihr das hier seht. Zumindest würde es bei so einem storygetriebenen Spiel wenig Sinn ergeben. The true killer manipulated Hifumi to carry out a number of actions and in the end, murdered him. In the debates up till now, the way the case has unfolded, when you consider all that, there's really only one person who seems to fit. So, wir dürfen auswählen, wer höchstwahrscheinlich Hifumi umgebracht hat. Und es gibt nur eine Person, auf die das passt. Und ja. Die Person, die uns schon den ganzen Fall versucht zu behindern, würde ich mal sagen.
Here's my answer. It was Celeste.
Und damit ist der Cliffhanger vom letzten Mal aufgelöst.
Ah, so I'm the suspicious individual now, am I?
Naja, sehr viel passt.
I really do hate this kind of joke.
A joke? I wonder.
So what you are saying, then, is that I specifically chose to work together with Hifumi. The idea that I would choose to spend any amount of time interacting with him, that I would go within 10 feet of that shit-front brains, that lazy, worthless, goddamn idiot!
Oh, der französische Akzent fällt weg, wenn die wütend wird im Englischen. Okay, das wusste ich noch gar nicht.
Pardonnez-moi.
Just to be clear, there is evidence to support it.
Is that so?
It is. Throughout the investigation, there was certain behavior that was common only to the two of you. Considering what we've learned so far, it only further proves that the two of you were working together.
What is that only Hifumi and Celeste had in common? Screaming, encountering the suspicious individual. Paper hidden in Hifumi's... Ja, das.
I got it! The behavior they had in common has to do with the suspicious individual in the suit, doesn't it? The only ones who ever actually saw Robo Justice firsthand were Celeste and Hifumi.
Shush, the adults are talking now.
Sorry.
As he said, only Celeste and Hifumi ever laid eyes on the costumed individual. If we accept that Hifumi was one of the culprits, we can't help but suspect what Celeste has said as well.
Are you saying everything they told us was a lie?
After taking Hifumi to the nurse's office, we all began our search for this individual, correct? And not too long after that, do you remember what Celeste said?
I saw a shadow, something moving around at the top of the stairs.
We headed to the second floor specifically because of what she claimed to have seen. Next, to draw us all to the physics lab up on the third floor,
She let out a blood-curdling scream.
and when we'd all come to see what was wrong, what was it she said?
Celeste, what's wrong? That was a rather intense scream for someone like you. Ist das nicht das dritte Flashback, das erzählt, was wir zu der Szene schon haben? Egal. I saw him, the strange costumed man. He ran off as soon as I screamed. I was blocking the stairs, so he headed further down to the hallway and disappeared.
Once she'd done her job of getting us all up to the physics lab, it was time for her partner to get to work.
Ja. Huh? What was that? That came from down the stairs. It must have been Hifumi. He's in the nurse's office. This is bad. Come on, we have to go back.
It was to get us to divide into two groups, so that we would discover both bodies at the same time?
In fact, Celeste was precisely the one who proposed that we split up.
Then why don't we split into two groups? I'll lead the hunting party. That seems much more interesting. Very well, then Makoto and Hina, you come with me to the nurse's office. I will leave the capture of the suspicious individual to Toko, Byakuya, and Sakura.
Well, if Celeste and Hifumi were working together, all those chance events suddenly become connected. And on top of that piercing cry of yours early on. That was to signal Hifumi, wasn't it? It was your way of telling him, we're on the 3rd floor, everything's going according to plan. Why else would you let out a scream that could have carried across the sea?
I just realized another strange thing. When we found Hifumi in the nurse's office, who we now know was only pretending to be dead.
I certainly was not expecting this. I did not imagine that Hifumi would be murdered.
Celeste, you were the first one to say he'd been murdered. You wanted to make sure we wouldn't have any doubt in our minds.
I don't believe it! Everything! The whole thing was one big act!
Hina, you were with Celeste when Hifumi's body disappeared, right?
Yeah. I was feeling kinda sick, so Celeste took me to the bathroom. Wait! Then that was...
She wasn't worried about you. She just saw a chance to help Hifumi sneak out of the nurse's office.
Each piece isn't much by itself, but start putting them together and the picture gets very ugly indeed. Wouldn't you agree, Celeste?
I have no idea what you mean.
Don't bother trying to deny it. You made one fatal mistake.
Oh, did I?
I didn't even catch it myself when you first said it, but looking back, I can say that one little slip-up was your undoing.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about what you said after Hifumi's body disappeared and we returned to the nurse's office.
They must be really be enjoying this. Enjoying the sight of us standing around frightened and confused. We're all going to die here. We're going to die just like those guys died.
I remember her saying that too, but I don't understand what's so strange about it.
Then pay attention. Sakura, Toko, and I were first to discover Taka's body in the equipment room. Then Makoto showed up and told us Hifumi had been killed, so Sakura and I left with Makoto. Once we were in the hall, we ran into Celeste, and the 4 of us headed to the nurse's office. Now, the entire time we were together, none of us said anything about Taka being dead. Think about it. Celeste's comment doesn't make sense. It was completely out of place.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Although I don't really get what it means.
You hear that, Celeste? Everyone's having some trouble understanding. Could you repeat what you said? If you're really not the culprit, you shouldn't have any problem repeating it, right?
Byakuya said that Celeste's comment doesn't make sense. But what is he alluding to? Relativ simpel. Woher sollte die wissen, dass Taka tot ist, wenn sie nichts damit zu tun hatte?
All I said was... They must really be enjoying this. Enjoying the sight of us standing around, frightened and confused. They must be positively elated. We are all going to die here. We are going to die, just like those guys died. And that is all I said.
And that's all it takes to finish this. It's obvious, isn't it, what was so strange about Celeste's comment?
When she said that she should only have known about Hifumi's death. With that in mind, what's so strange about what she said is der Plural.
All I
Was ist
said
ganz Moment.
was they must really be enjoying the sight of
Das
us
ist nicht
standing
richtig.
around.
Moment.
They must be positive. We are all going to die here.
Moment, nee, das ist Blödsinn.
We are going to die, just like those guys. And that is all.
And that's
Moment.
all it takes to finish. What was so strange
So,
about Celeste's
ich nehme mal
comment?
das. Das könnte es sein.
All I said, they really enjoying the sight of us. They must be. We are going to die.
Just like
Haben wir's doch.
No, it's wrong. That's right. There's no reason Celeste should have said, just like those guys died. When she said that, none of us had told her Taka was dead.
exactly. And we didn't run into her until after we were all out in the hall. So there was never any chance for her to have seen his body in the equipment room for herself.
So how did you know, Celeste? How did you know more than one person had been killed? And how did you know they were both guys? Because Kyoko had also disappeared, right? So she could have been dead too.
You all have such vivid imaginations. You know that?
Imaginations?
You claim that I was lying when I told you about the suspicious person I saw. Then what about the picture I took? How do you explain this picture of the costumed villain dragging Hifumi away?
It has to be some kind of setup, right? So let's put the suit on, and then she used the camera's timer to set up the picture.
Have you so quickly forgotten? You are the only one who could have possibly fit into that suit. Plus, I happen to know that this particular camera does not have a timer. In other words, it is an unassailable fact that this is a picture of Hifumi being dragged away. If everything I told you was a lie, how can this picture exist?
Simple. Are we sure that's really a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away?
What could you possibly mean by that?
Surely there are other explanations than the one you've offered up.
No, there is no other explanation.
Other explanations. If it wasn't a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away, the only other possibility is Hifumi and the suspect had been drinking. Hifumi is dragging the suspect away. Hifumi and the suspect are dancing. Nein, das.
I got it! It's not a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away. I would say it's a picture of Hifumi dragging the suspect away.
That's certainly within the realm of possibility. The one being dragged off in that picture isn't Hifumi, but the person in the robot suit. We've simply been led to believe that it's the other way around. And the strange costume might only exist to lead us astray even farther. If you saw someone wearing something like that in this situation, of course you'd notice and be suspicious.
That's what happened! You put me to sleep and made me out to be the bad guy in all this!
Such a thing is utterly impossible. Hifumi was dragging him away? Ridiculous.
Is it? I don't think it's ridiculous at all.
Then shut your mouth and allow me to educate you.
Celeste thinks she can prove that there's no way Hifumi was dragging the suspect away. But is that really possible?
You dressed me up in that suit after I passed out! Then you just draped me across Hifumi and had him carry my weight! You tried to make me look like the bad guy!
Like I said, ridiculous. As you can see in the picture, the suspect is standing perfectly upright. If the person inside the suit was unconscious, there's no way they could stand up straight like that.
Doch.
Then the fortune-telling idiot is the culprit after all!
No way!
If I remember right, Hina said she said that she couldn't bend at the waist. Genau das ist es.
You dressed me up in that, then you just draped it. You tried to make me look
Like I said, as you can see in the picture, if the person inside, there's no way they could stand up straight like that.
What? You're meaningless words, Time. Please stop wasting my time.
Shoot!
I need to think about it one more time. There must be a contradiction in there somewhere.
You dressed
Das
me
ist
up
nicht
in
das
that
Richtige?
suit after I passed
Ach, einfach
out.
nur das Kostüm. Okay, nicht die Blueprints, schon klar.
Like I said, as you can see in the picture, if the person in there's no way they could stand up straight.
So, jetzt haben wir's.
No, that's wrong. No. Even if the person inside the suit were unconscious, they could still stand up like that. Because that Robo-Justice suit had a certain characteristic.
You totally can't bend at the waist. Seems like a pretty obvious oversight.
That's right! They totally made a mistake when they made it, so it couldn't bend at the waist.
I'm not so sure that was a mistake. I think the suit was designed from the beginning to be used the way it was.
Celeste and Hifumi took the suit they'd specially designed and stuffed Hiro into it. That's how they were able to fake that whole thing. The point of it all was to make us believe whoever was in the suit was to blame.
Well then, I suppose this is checkmate.
Checkmate?
Diese rotierende Kamera macht mich gerade so ein bisschen wahnsinnig.
Don't make me laugh, you idiot! What do you mean, checkmate? Celeste? Clearly, you want to cram me into your little guilty box. Well, there's one little problem. Have you already forgotten what Hifumi told us as he lay dying?
Hey, Hifumi, who was it? Who attacked you? Who tried to kill you? Who killed me? That's right, I remember. Their name. Yasuhiro.
When we asked him who had attacked him, his answer was quite clear, was it not? He said, and I quote, Yasuhiro. In other words, Yasuhiro Hagakure!
Right, but my name isn't really Yasuhiro. It's actually Taro.
Your confusing statements don't make any sense. You're only making things more complicated.
He did say Yasuhiro, but are we sure he was really pointing the finger at Hiro?
What the hell are you talking about? I'll burn you alive!
Kyoko, what do you mean by that?
Think back to how Hifumi used to talk to us. How did he refer to each of us?
He gave everyone nicknames, he said people's last names, he said for serious a lot. Nee, hat Leute beim Nachnamen angesprochen. Sehr höfliche Sprache im Japanischen.
I got it! That's right! Our last names! He called us all by our last names!
Exactly. I know I heard him say Mr. Naegi more than once, for example. So if Hifumi did mean to say Hiro's name, he would have said his last name, Hagakure.
I'm sure it was just incidental. By chance, his first name. Indecent?
Don't talk.
Random chance. Now isn't that a convenient explanation? No, there's no reason to think he would have said the name any different than normal. But he must have run out of energy before he could say any more.
So Hifumi was trying to tell us the last name of whoever killed him?
But the name he said doesn't apply to anyone here.
Well, no. Hold on. There's one person it could apply to. And that's Celeste. She never actually told us what her real name is.
What did you just say? To think you'd take your false accusation so far, I don't know whether to laugh or spit! Come on! Enough with your idiotic blather! Yasuhiro is a loser's name! Do I look like a loser to you? Well, do I? What? I think I've earned the right to be a little on edge.
Okay, then fill us in. What's your real name?
Make sure your ear holes are wide open and listen up! Celestia Ludenberg, could you please stop making me repeat myself over and over again?
Celeste still won't give up, so then I have to do something to make her accept it. Make your argument. Ja.
Hifumi was trying to tell us something. He wanted us to know the killer's last name, Yasuhiro.
If there's one person here who might have that last name,
It would have to be you, Celeste. You haven't told anyone what your real name is.
how many times do I have to tell you? My name is Celestia Ludenberg! God damn it!
How long do you plan to go on pretending?
I'm not pretending. It's the truth. And since you have no way to contradict me,
Doch.
that's the only truth there is! Moron!
So funktioniert es mit der Wahrheit nicht ganz. If I remember, there's something here that shows its owner's real name. I'm sure Kyoko mentioned something like that at some point. It may not be related to the case, but it might come in handy anyway. Ja. Und da haben wir es nämlich.
He wanted us to know the killer. If there's one person,
It would have to be you, Celeste.
how many times? Celestia Ludenberg!
How long do you plan?
I'm not pretending. And since
You have no way to contradict me. No, that's wrong.
Und da haben wir es.
That's it. The handbook.
what?
Anytime you turn your handbook on, it shows the owner's name when it boots up, right? Monokuma told us all about it before.
This handbook is absolutely vital to a healthy school life, so don't lose it. When you start it up, it will display your name. Always make sure you have the right one. Now, this is not your everyday notebook. It has so many more uses than that.
So all we have to do is check her handbook, and that'll clear up everything. That's how we can find out Celeste's real name.
That's an invasion of privacy. I refuse to cooperate.
Celeste, can you please just tell us what really happened? Please, just tell us.
Even when I'm put in check, it's just my nature not to give up. Because until the game's over, you never know what might happen.
Fine then. Let me settle it.
Yep. Und das machen wir in der nächsten Folge. Tut mir leid. Ist ein harter Cliffhanger, aber trotzdem. Ich hoffe, ihr habt trotzdem Spaß. Lasst konstruktive Kritik, vielleicht ein Däumchen nach oben da, wenn es euch soweit gefällt. Und beim nächsten Mal schauen wir dann, was Celestes richtiger Name ist und wie das Ganze dann wirklich 1:1 abgelaufen ist. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Cheerio.